The year is 2025. The world watches with bated breath. The conflict in Ukraine, a simmering powder keg since 2014, has reignited. Once again, the global spotlight falls on Eastern Europe. Tensions are high. The threat of a wider war looms large. This is not just another regional conflict, it's a clash of ideologies. It's a struggle for power and influence. At the heart of it all, three figures: Volodymyr Zelensky, the defiant president of Ukraine; Vladimir Putin, the steely-eyed leader of Russia; and, in a twist no one saw coming, Donald Trump, former US president, thrust back onto the world stage as a self-proclaimed mediator. The stakes couldn't be higher. The future of Ukraine hangs in the balance. The post-Cold War order is being tested, and the world holds its breath, hoping for a peaceful resolution to this dangerous standoff. Volodymyr Zelensky, a former comedian turned wartime leader, represents a nation defiant in the face of aggression. He demands respect for Ukraine's sovereignty. He insists on a complete withdrawal of Russian troops. His resolve is unwavering. He seeks peace, but not at the cost of Ukrainian territory or independence. Across the table sits Vladimir Putin, the longtime Russian leader, no stranger to international power plays. He views Ukraine as intrinsically linked to Russia's sphere of influence. He demands recognition of Crimea as Russian territory. He seeks autonomy for the disputed regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. His stance is firm. He seeks to reassert Russia's dominance in the region. And then there's Donald Trump. The former US president, known for his unconventional approach to diplomacy, has inserted himself into the negotiations. He fancies himself a deal-maker, a master negotiator. His motives are unclear. His involvement, welcomed by some and viewed with suspicion by others, adds another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. The stage is set for a high-stakes diplomatic drama. The world watches, holding its breath as these three powerful figures meet, their words and actions carrying the weight of potential conflict or fragile peace. Ukraine stands as a nation under siege. Its very existence is threatened by the presence of Russian troops within its borders. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 remains a festering wound. The ongoing conflict in the Donbas region serves as a constant reminder of Ukraine's vulnerability. Zelensky's demands are clear: a complete and unconditional withdrawal of all Russian forces from Ukrainian territory. He insists on the restoration of Ukraine's internationally recognized borders. He seeks justice for the victims of the conflict and accountability for those responsible for the bloodshed. But Ukraine's pleas for peace are often met with skepticism. The international community, while sympathetic to Ukraine's plight, seems hesitant to fully commit to its defense. The memory of past conflicts and the fear of escalating tensions with Russia weighs heavily on the minds of world leaders. Russia, under Putin's leadership, views the situation in Ukraine through a different lens. They see it as a matter of national security, a buffer zone against what they perceive as NATO expansionism. They believe that Ukraine's rightful place is within Russia's sphere of influence, not aligned with the West. Putin's demands are non-negotiable recognition of Crimea as part of Russia, a fait accompli in his eyes. He also seeks autonomy for the Donbas region, effectively giving Russia a veto over Ukraine's future. These are not mere bargaining chips, they are fundamental to Russia's strategic objectives. The West accuses Russia of violating international law, of aggression and destabilization. Sanctions have been imposed, but their effectiveness remains debatable. The Kremlin seems unfazed, confident in their ability to weather the storm and achieve their goals. Section 5. The Trump factor, a wild card, enters the fray. Enter Donald Trump, a man who thrives on chaos and attention. He positions himself as a neutral arbiter, a peacemaker. He claims to have a unique understanding of Putin, a rapport built during his time in office. He proposes a phased withdrawal of Russian troops coupled with referendums in the disputed territories. But Trump's motives are murky. His past pronouncements on Ukraine, his admiration for Putin, and his tendency to prioritize personal relationships over strategic interests raise alarm bells. His involvement injects an element of unpredictability into an already volatile situation. Skeptics view Trump's involvement as a publicity stunt, a way to remain relevant on the world stage. They question his sincerity and his ability to act as an honest broker. His presence at the negotiating table adds another layer of complexity to an already tangled web of competing interests and historical grievances. Section 6. Discord on the world stage. Reactions to Trump's mediation. The international community's response to Trump's involvement in the Ukraine peace talks has been mixed, to say the least. Some view it with cautious optimism, hoping that his unconventional approach might yield unexpected breakthroughs. Others view it with deep suspicion, fearing that he might make concessions to Russia that undermine Ukrainian sovereignty and Western interests. European leaders in particular have expressed concerns about being sidelined in a conflict that directly impacts their security. They question Trump's commitment to NATO and his understanding of the complex historical and geopolitical dynamics at play in the region. The United Nations has called for a ceasefire and a return to dialogue, but with trust between the parties at an all-time low, and with so much at stake, finding a path to a lasting peace seems like a daunting task. Section 7. Europe's unease, sidelined in a conflict on their doorstep. The conflict in Ukraine has exposed deep divisions within the European Union. While there is broad agreement on the need to support Ukraine and to deter Russian aggression, there are different views on how best to achieve those goals. Some member states, particularly those in Eastern Europe with direct experience of Russian aggression, favor a more hawkish approach, calling for increased military support for Ukraine and tougher sanctions against Russia. Others, particularly those in Western Europe with closer economic ties to Russia, are more cautious, fearing that escalating the conflict could have unintended consequences. This division within Europe has made it difficult to present a united front in the face of Russian aggression. The United States, traditionally seen as the guarantor of European security, has sent mixed signals under the Trump administration. While continuing to provide military aid to Ukraine, Trump has also expressed skepticism about NATO and suggested that the U.S. might not come to the defense of its allies if they are attacked. This has further fueled anxieties in Europe about the future of the transatlantic alliance and the continent's ability to defend itself. Section 8. A world on edge: global implications of the Ukraine crisis. The conflict in Ukraine is not just a regional crisis. It has global implications, sending shockwaves through the international system and impacting everything from energy prices to food security. The conflict has exacerbated existing tensions between Russia and the West, leading to a new Cold War. The sanctions imposed on Russia have had a ripple effect on the global economy, disrupting supply chains and contributing to rising inflation. The conflict has also led to a surge in energy prices, as Russia is a major supplier of oil and gas to Europe. This has hit consumers hard, particularly in developing countries already struggling with the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. The conflict has also had a profound impact on the global food system. Ukraine and Russia are both major agricultural producers, and the conflict has disrupted exports of wheat, corn, and other essential commodities. This has led to food shortages and price hikes, particularly in countries in the Middle East and Africa that are heavily reliant on imports from the Black Sea region. Section 9. The unfinished chapter. A long road to peace in Ukraine. As the negotiations continue, the world watches and waits. The outcome is uncertain. Will diplomacy prevail, or will the conflict escalate further? The stakes are incredibly high. The future of Ukraine hangs in the balance. The stability of Europe is at risk, and the world holds its breath, hoping for a peaceful resolution to this dangerous standoff. The path to peace in Ukraine is fraught with obstacles. Mistrust runs deep, grievances are entrenched, and the shadow of past conflicts looms large. But amidst the uncertainty, there is a glimmer of hope. The fact that the parties are talking, however tenuously, is a positive sign. The international community, while divided, recognizes the need for a peaceful solution. The road ahead will be long and arduous. It will require compromise, flexibility, and a willingness to address the root causes of the conflict. But the alternative, a wider war in Europe with potentially catastrophic consequences, is simply unthinkable. The world must not allow this conflict to spiral out of control. The stakes are too high, and the human cost of failure is too great.